Good morning and welcome to the 10 a.m. daily weather brief. Starting us off, we'll take a look at our upper level winds for today. And from the surface all the way up throughout most of the vertical column, we are seeing some pretty steady conditions this morning with winds staying consistent in both speed and direction. We do have our winds coming out of mostly the northwest and running about 10 to 15 knots throughout a large portion of the vertical, and with our strongest winds being seen up around 20,000 feet, around 17 knots. As for our freezing level this morning, the balloon did indicate that the lowest one out there was sitting at roughly 14,200 feet. Now, pulling up our most recent surface analysis chart, we can see that we do have a nice region of high pressure parked over our local area, and that should bring us plenty of sunshine and some comfortable warm temperatures as we move through the day today. And then for the weekend, we'll see some changes as a backdoor cold front slides through late Saturday and into Sunday and has the possibility of hanging around just a little bit. And if that front does indeed stall out, we might see a low pressure system start to spin up off along the coast, and that brings our chance of pumping in some moisture and gives us a shot at some light rain come Sunday. However, with that being said, regarding that low, the models aren't really in full agreement at this time. Some of them do show the low forming, others are keeping us dry. So at the moment, kind of leaning towards the drier scenario and outcome, but we'll certainly keep an eye on it as we move through the weekend. Now, looking ahead to next week, things do pick up just a little bit, as early in the week we'll see that high pressure that's currently overhead shift south of us, and we'll see a ridge begin building offshore here. And at the same time, we'll start to see a strong storm system that will dive into the central plains. And that setup, once that low dives into the plains, is going to then flip our wind directions to be coming from a more southerly direction, and that would mean a slight warming trend through Wednesday, although only by a couple of degrees. And then by the middle and end of next week, that storm system from the plains comes our way through the Mississippi Valley, and we'll start to see high pressure rebuilding up to the north, and that will help bring those rain chances, for us at least, back into the picture, and will ultimately cool us down just a little bit, with those temperatures expected to remain just slightly below average to close out the week ahead. As for the 24-hour forecast, we are anticipating largely clear skies today, with maybe a couple fair weather cumulus clouds developing as we move through peak heating today, but largely mostly sunny, and then some clouds building in the late afternoon or late evening into early morning hours, and they'll steadily but ever so slowly build in as we move through the time frame into Saturday. Our temperatures for today do look to remain in the low to mid 80s as for the highs, and for our winds today, they do look to remain light and even turn variable in the early morning hours of tomorrow, in which they will then pick up ever so slightly, become a little more gusty, but still generally remaining light in the early portions of Saturday. Now, moving on to the short-term risk chart. On Saturday, we can anticipate partly cloudy conditions and a high of 76 with no real weather-related risks anticipated. Saturday night, we can anticipate partly cloudy conditions with a slight chance of those low clouds building in the overnight hours and a low of 64. And then on Sunday, we can anticipate partly to mostly cloudy conditions and slightly breezy conditions with a very slight chance of scattered showers moving through the local area and a high of 73. Now, as for those winds, a lot of the models do have those winds well below any advisory criteria. However, some of the outputs were kind of leaning towards a little gustier scenarios. So in an abundance of caution, just kind of bringing some attention to that possible scenario. But right now, it does look to be a low-end chance for Sunday. And that brings us to our 7-day forecast, in which we can anticipate sunny conditions today, a little bit of clouds building in on Saturday, and some slight rain chances depending on how that low off the coast ends up developing or not developing. As of right now, as mentioned earlier, going with the slightly drier scenario. And then those clouds do look to linger and build in for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday does look like we'll have another chance of some rain, although a bit far out, and not given too much weight to that system moving through just quite yet. But those chances will likely increase. We'll see how the high up to the north and that low coming from the plains ultimately plays out. And then Thursday, closing us out for the next week, partly to mostly cloudy. So generally clouds building in through the week once we get out of the weekend here and over the next few days. As for our temperatures, it does look like today will be the warmest day of the next 7, and our temperatures will be slightly, ever so consistently decreasing till Sunday, and then we'll see that slight warm-up building in through Wednesday, and then kind of ebbing and flowing back down into the mid-70s come Thursday, with our lows generally in the low 60s to upper 50s. And that is going to round out the 7-day outlook. We will be back on Monday at 8:15 with the daily weather operations brief. Hope everyone has a great week and a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.